Imagine this. 7 young men, each from different corners of South Korea, once standing under the same neon dream of Seoul, hungry, uncertain, and armed with nothing but rhythm and rebellion. What started as a small hip-hop group from a company no one believed in turned into the most influential music act of the 21st century. BTS didn't just enter the industry, they redefined it, reshaped it, and shattered what it meant to be a global star. From Grammy nominations to stadiums filled with oceans of purple light, their story reads like a modern myth. But here's what people rarely talk about: what happens after the myth. After the lights, after the confetti, after the biggest group on earth decides to walk separate paths, even for a moment, that's where the real narrative begins. Every member of BTS has carved a career so distinct that even when the group is not together, the world still feels their presence. Records are still being broken, streams are still multiplying, and headlines, well, they never stopped. Each of them has carried the BTS name into uncharted territory. Some through acting, others through production, and a few through their unmatched solo artistry. This list isn't about popularity, it's about impact, legacy, and the way each member continues to reshape what it means to be an artist in the post-BTS era. But before we climb to the peak, let's rewind through their journeys. From military uniforms to luxury brand campaigns, from quiet studio nights to roaring festival stages, the paths they've taken couldn't be more different, yet somehow all lead to the same horizon: global history. Tonight, we count down from 7 to 1, the BTS members whose solo careers have broken records, redefined limits, and proven that this isn't just a band, it's a cultural revolution in motion. So fasten your seatbelt, because this isn't a story told in charts or trophies. It's told through resilience, reinvention, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Let's begin. Number 7. Jin, the soldier who turned silence into power. When BTS's oldest member, Kim Seokjin, known simply as Jin, announced his enlistment, many thought his career would pause. What they didn't realize was that even in silence, Jin was making noise. Before leaving for the military, he dropped a song called The Astronaut, co-written with Coldplay. And it wasn't just a farewell, it was a statement. A cosmic ballad that seemed to whisper, "Even if I'm gone, my voice will still reach you." Let's rewind. Jin's story isn't about chasing fame. It's about patience, timing, and the kind of quiet charisma that takes years to unfold. When BTS first debuted, Jin wasn't the one in the spotlight. Critics labeled him the visual, assuming that meant he was just the face, not the force. But through years of evolution, Jin showed he was something else entirely, a performer with emotional intelligence, and a singer who could make simplicity sound eternal. His journey to solo success began subtly. Unlike others who rushed into solo albums, Jin took a cinematic approach. Epiphany became one of BTS's most emotionally resonant solo tracks, and Moon later sealed his identity as the band's most poetic voice. Both songs landed on charts, but their true impact lived in how they redefined vulnerability in K-pop. Jin wasn't performing sadness. He was studying it, understanding it, and turning it into melody. Then came the global collaboration that nobody saw coming. Coldplay's Chris Martin personally reached out to Jin for The Astronaut. In the music video, Jin plays a character who lands on Earth alone, curious, searching for home. It was a reflection of his own journey, a man stepping away from the noise of fame to rediscover who he is beneath it. The song charted globally, breaking records for Korean soloists before military service. It wasn't about virality, it was about legacy. During his enlistment, Jin did something remarkable. Instead of disappearing from fans' radar, his pre-recorded content and steady media presence kept his name alive. Military photos trended like album drops. Fans around the world celebrated his milestones in uniform, proving that Jin's connection wasn't dependent on stage lights, it was built on trust. Now, as his discharge approaches, anticipation builds. Will he act? Will he sing? Industry insiders hint that major solo projects are waiting, some even tied to film. Jin has evolved from being the visual to being the vision, a man whose artistry blooms not through loud comebacks, but through quiet confidence. And maybe that's what sets Jin apart. In an era obsessed with speed and numbers, he reminds the world that silence can be powerful, that absence can amplify presence, and that a true artist doesn't need to chase the spotlight, he is the spotlight, even in the dark. Number 6. J-Hope, the flame that never fades. If you've ever seen J-Hope perform, you'll understand one thing immediately. This man was born to move. Every step, every beat, every flick of his wrist feels like electricity running through the stage. He's not just dancing, he's translating sound into light. And that's what makes Jungkook, better known as J-Hope, one of the most defining solo artists of this generation. His career isn't just about rhythm. It's about rebellion, persistence, and an unshakable belief in art that speaks without fear. When BTS announced their temporary break for individual activities, J-Hope was the first to take the leap, and he didn't take it lightly. He reintroduced himself to the world with Jack in the Box, an album that exploded every expectation people had of the bright and cheerful member of BTS. Gone was the sunshine aesthetic. In its place stood a darker, more raw J-Hope, an artist who wanted to dig into the chaos of his own identity. Tracks like More and Arson didn't just showcase his rap and production skills, they revealed a man burning everything that held him back. What's striking about J-Hope's solo journey is how fearless it is. He was the first BTS member to headline Lollapalooza, one of America's biggest music festivals, a move that stunned even Western critics. There he was, standing alone on a massive Chicago stage, in front of tens of thousands of fans who had never seen him outside of BTS. But J-Hope didn't flinch. He delivered a full set of his own music, transforming the field into a roaring sea of fire and freedom. That performance became a turning point, not just for him, but for the perception of K-pop artists globally. It proved that a Korean solo act could command the same presence, the same crowd energy, and the same artistry as any Western headliner. But behind that explosive performance lies years of discipline. J-Hope's foundation as a dancer came long before BTS. As a teenager, he was part of underground dance crews, competing, learning, failing, and evolving. His early years were not glamorous. They were built on sweat, rejection, and endless nights perfecting moves that only a few people would see. That background forged his creative DNA raw, relentless, and precise. When Jack in the Box dropped, critics praised its storytelling. The concept borrowed from Greek mythology the idea of Pandora's box and explored themes like curiosity, chaos, and freedom. It wasn't designed for charts or trends. It was designed as a statement. Through dark beats and distorted vocals, J-Hope declared, "I'm not afraid to show the parts of me that don't smile." And that honesty connected deeply with listeners who had only known him as the happy virus. His artistry extended beyond music, too. When he attended fashion events like Paris Fashion Week as a Louis Vuitton ambassador, he didn't just show up, he commanded attention. Editors and stylists described him as one of the few celebrities who understand fashion as performance art. Every outfit, every gesture felt intentional, an extension of his music, not a distraction from it. Then came the military enlistment. For many idols that marks a pause, but for J-Hope, it became a recharging period. His pre-enlistment project was so carefully timed that fans still feel his presence daily. His appearances on shows like Sushwita, with Suga, revealed his reflective side, an artist who understands the need to balance drive with rest. Perhaps the most defining part of J-Hope's solo career is his duality. He can be sunshine and storm, hope and rage. In the pop world, where branding often boxes artists into one image, J-Hope broke free. He built his identity on contradiction, and that's why he's still unstoppable. J-Hope's influence doesn't stop at music. He's become a symbol of what happens when passion meets purpose. He funds scholarships for young dancers. He collaborates with museums on art initiatives. He gives back, quietly but consistently, proving that the same fire that drives him on stage also fuels his humanity. Number 5. RM, the architect of sound and thought. When the story of BTS is told, it always begins with a voice deep, confident, and impossibly articulate. That voice belongs to Kim Namjoon, better known as RM. Before the world saw him standing on global stages as BTS's leader, RM was a kid scribbling lyrics in his bedroom, trying to make sense of the chaos around him. His words were his map, his voice was his weapon, and eventually, his ideas became the foundation of the most influential music act in the world. RM's solo career has always been about architecture, not of buildings, but of emotion, sound, and identity. From his early mixtapes to his 2022 album Indigo, he's built a world where language and art collide. Indigo wasn't just an album, it was a museum. Every song felt like an exhibit, raw, intimate, and deeply personal. Collaborating with legends like Erykah Badu and Anderson, Park RM proved that his artistry wasn't limited by genre or geography. He didn't need to chase trends. He created his own intellectual rhythm. What sets RM apart is his ability to fuse philosophy with feeling. In Wildflower, he confronts the paradox of fame, the beauty of success, and the loneliness it brings. Still, life turns art into motion, questioning what it means to be alive when your life is constantly on display. Every lyric is deliberate. Every melody feels like a confession dressed in poetry. But RM's career extends beyond the studio. He's become a cultural bridge, a curator of art, a patron of museums, and a voice for Korean creativity on a global stage. His love for visual art is legendary. He often spends his free time visiting galleries, studying painters, and collecting pieces from emerging Korean artists. To many fans, RM isn't just a musician, he's a living archive of modern thought, preserving culture through music and conversation. As BTS entered a new chapter, RM became the group's philosopher in residence, the one who could articulate what the others were feeling. His interviews, his speeches, even his silences carry weight. When he addressed the United Nations, he didn't speak as a pop star. He spoke as a generation's conscience. RM's legacy is built on thoughtfulness. He's not chasing commercial dominance, though he could easily have it. Instead, he's chasing meaning. His work asks questions that few in the pop world dare to ask. What happens after success? Who am I when the lights go off? What do we owe ourselves in a world that never stops demanding more? That's why RM ranks here. Not because of the noise he makes, but because of the silence he fills with purpose. His artistry isn't loud, it's lasting. And, as he continues to compose, paint, and build, one truth remains. RM doesn't just create music. He builds monuments of thought that will stand long after the applause fades. Number 4. V. The visionary of emotion. Every era of BTS has had a visual center, and when it comes to cinematic allure, no one embodies that title more naturally than Kim Taehyung, better known as V. He's not just seen, he's felt. With that deep baritone voice, vintage fashion sense, and mysterious aura, V turned artistry into an experience. When V stepped into his solo era with Layover, the world finally saw what longtime fans had always known, that his creativity operates in another dimension. The album, produced under the guidance of Min Hee-jin, the mind behind New Jeans, was a minimalist masterpiece. It stripped away the heavy production common in K-pop and replaced it with jazz, soul, and R&B sounds that fit like silk against V's smoky tone. Tracks like Love Me Again and Rainy Days felt like time capsules, cinematic, nostalgic, and heartbreakingly human. But Layover wasn't just a music release, it was a sensory project. Every video, every outfit, every shot in his visual album was calculated yet effortless. It was like walking into V's subconscious, filled with muted colors, quiet rooms, and unspoken longing. Critics called it one of the most refined solo debuts in K-pop history, and they weren't wrong. V had turned restraint into rebellion. V's artistry extends far beyond the microphone. His acting debut in Hwarang hinted at a side of him that's deeply theatrical, a performer who understands silence as much as speech. Even his photo shoots have narrative weight. They feel like stills from a film you can't stop watching. His work with brands like Celine and Cartier made him a global ambassador for timeless elegance, proving that style, for V, is another form of storytelling. When it comes to emotion, V doesn't exaggerate, he lets it breathe. His performances are never about power or volume, but about presence. He creates intimacy in chaos, inviting the audience into moments that feel personal and eternal. That's why his fanbase connects to him not as an idol, but as an artist who paints with feeling instead of fame. V's ranking on this list isn't just about records or charts. It's about artistry that transcends genre. In a world obsessed with speed and spectacle, he dares to slow things down to remind us that beauty isn't loud, it's lingering. And that's his secret weapon. A quiet kind of power that leaves an echo long after the music fades. Number 3. Jungkook, the global standard. When the youngest member of BTS stepped into his solo spotlight, the entire world stopped to watch. Jungkook's solo era wasn't just a moment in K-pop, it was a cultural shift. He became the blueprint for what a global pop star could be. Technically perfect, endlessly versatile, and universally magnetic. Jungkook's solo debut with Seven wasn't a test, it was a takeover. Within hours, the song shattered streaming records, debuting at the top of global charts and breaking Spotify history for fastest streams by a male artist. Collaborating with Latto, Jungkook didn't just dip his toes into Western pop, he owned it. The track's smooth vocals, sleek production, and mature themes marked a new chapter for him. No longer the golden maknae, but a fully realized solo performer with his own world stage. Then came 3D with Jack Harlow, proof that Jungkook wasn't following trends, he was creating them. The blend of R&B and funk recalled early 2000s nostalgia while staying fresh for modern audiences. Critics across Billboard, Rolling Stone, and NME agreed. Jungkook wasn't just another K-pop idol trying to cross over, he was the standard by which others would now be measured. When his full album Golden dropped, it only solidified his dominance. Tracks like Standing Next to You and Yes or No revealed an artist who had mastered global pop language without losing his Korean identity. His stage performances from the Global Citizen Festival to Times Square proved something rare. Jungkook doesn't perform for the crowd, he performs with them. But behind that perfection lies a relentless drive. Jungkook's work ethic is legendary even among his members. He trains like an athlete, rehearses like a soldier, and sings like it's his last chance to be heard. That combination of precision and passion makes him unstoppable. Jungkook's influence extends far beyond music. As the face of Calvin Klein, he reshaped global fashion marketing, turning campaigns into cultural events. His mere appearance at airports sends social media into meltdown. In an age of endless idols, Jungkook has achieved what only a few ever do. He's become inevitable. That's why he sits at number 3, not because he's reached his limit, but because he's still climbing. His story isn't complete. And if history has taught us anything, it's that Jungkook doesn't chase trends, he defines them. Number 2. Suga, the genius behind the curtain. Every empire has its architect, and for BTS, that's Min Yoongi, better known as Suga. While the others may stand at the front of the stage, Suga often stands behind the console, quietly building the future of Korean music. But don't mistake his quiet for absence. His presence is everywhere. As a producer, rapper, and composer, Suga has one of the most powerful resumes in the industry. His alter ego, August D, became a movement of its own, raw, unapologetic, and intensely personal. His trilogy of projects August D, D2, and D-Day charted a man's evolution from ambition to enlightenment. Through tracks like Daechwita and Haegeum, he bridged Korean history with modern rebellion, turning traditional instruments into weapons of self-expression. Suga's power lies in his honesty. He raps about depression, fame, trauma, and healing with a directness that's rare in any music scene. His lyrics cut deep, not because they're angry, but because they're true. That vulnerability made him not only one of the most respected rappers in Asia, but also one of the most relatable voices in global music. Beyond his solo work, Suga's fingerprints are everywhere, from BTS hits to collaborations with IU, PSY, and Coldplay. Each project feels deliberate, crafted, and deeply human. His production style, clean, emotional, cinematic, has influenced a generation of younger producers who now see him as the benchmark. Even in the midst of his military service, Suga's legacy continues to expand. His world tour for D-Day sold out arenas globally, blending live band performances with visual storytelling that bordered on theatrical. Fans described it not as a concert, but as a confession. Suga's place at number 2 isn't just about records, it's about revolution. He's redefined what a producer can be, what a rapper can express, and what Korean music can represent. His art is proof that power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers truths that echo louder than any applause. Number 1. Jimin, the phenomenon of pure emotion. At the top of the list stands Park Jimin, the performer who turned vulnerability into victory. Jimin's career isn't just record-breaking, it's redefining what it means to connect. When he moves, the world watches. When he sings, it feels like he's tearing open the sky just to let light through. Jimin's solo debut, Face, arrived like a storm, elegant, emotional, and explosive. Like Crazy became the highest charting solo song by a Korean artist in Billboard Hot 100 history, hitting number 1. It wasn't hype, it was history. The track's dreamlike synths and aching vocals captured something universal, the struggle to hold onto oneself in a world that keeps demanding more. But Jimin's success isn't just about numbers, it's about impact. His artistry exists on a frequency where emotion becomes movement. His dance is never just choreography, it's storytelling in motion. Each gesture, each glance, each breath feels intentional. Critics have compared him to performance artists rather than traditional pop idols, a rare compliment in the fast-paced world of K-pop. What makes Jimin's dominance extraordinary is his ability to balance delicacy with power. On stage, he's pure grace, fluid, ethereal, transcendent. Off-stage, he's thoughtful, reserved, often quietly reflective about his art. That duality creates a magnetism no algorithm can replicate. His influence stretches across music, fashion, and even social discourse. As a Dior ambassador, Jimin redefined how male idols could embody elegance without losing strength. In interviews, he speaks softly but leaves lasting impact, his sincerity disarming even the toughest journalists. From trainee struggles to topping global charts, Jimin's story reads like a cinematic arc, one of discipline, self-doubt, and ultimate triumph. His rise to number one isn't just about success, it's about authenticity. Because in an industry built on image, Jimin built a career on truth. And that's why he reigns at the top, not because he's louder, not because he's faster, but because he feels deeper. Every stage, every note, every silence, Jimin turns it into art. And in doing so, he's proven something that every great artist eventually learns, that the heart, when fearless, will always break records.